Hey, Amie,
Yeah, Juan.
give me that beat.
It's Baseball Shangri-La with Amie Cuevas and Juan Ramirez.
What's up, party people? You are listening or watching Baseball Shangri-La. If you are listening to us on the audio portion of the podcast, please make sure you're subscribed to the podcast, rate us, write us a review. Help spread the word about the podcast. If you're watching us on YouTube, make sure you're subscribed to our YouTube channel. Hit that notification button. Give us a thumbs up. Leave us comments. We love engaging with you. And most importantly, make sure you're following us on social media. On X at BB Shangri-La. On Instagram, YouTube, and Twitch at Baseball Shangri-La. Amie, I see what you did there. ¿Cómo estás?
Do you like my unicorn horn?
Yes, Amie is dressed as the unicorn, and I believe that is a reference to the major motion picture, The Last Unicorn. Is that correct?
It is absolutely not. It is absolutely not.
Because there are no other unicorns that will be discussed on this show.
No, I don't know any. I happen to like them. I just thought it would be apropos for today.
Okay.
It's actually a precursor for our next episode. So let me take that off. Too early.
Okay, you've all been warned. Our celebration of what Shohei did, initiating, creating the 50-50 Club. We're going to spend the majority of our time discussing that on our next episode. We're actually going to talk baseball in this episode. So for those of you that are listening or you're watching and you're going, why aren't you guys spending more time on Shohei? Trust me, we're going to spend a lot of time on Shohei in our next episode. Before we get into our updates, there are, believe it or not, ladies and gentlemen, we have a base running blunder. It has been a while since we've had a base running blunder. Our streak, we were on a hot streak. You know, I don't think enough is made of the fact that Shohei has a ridiculous conversion rate when it comes to stealing bases. He's only been caught like four times, I believe.
Yes, you're correct. 4 times.
We were on one of those rolls. I can't even remember the last time. And I know the last time we had a base running blunder was because of me. But Amie, can you please?
Oh, no, I had one. I think we just forgot to mention it because I said the wrong thing in the comments, but I called it out on the YouTube comments. So,
well, either way, it's been a while.
It's been 11 million years.
What is the base running blunder that was my bad?
So it got mentioned that the only time somebody has set somebody up for like tipping pitches from a catcher's perspective was from a major league standpoint, and it was actually a Bull Durham reference. It was it Crash Davis and LaLouche that he set up?
That is absolutely correct, but I'm still going to count it as a base running blunder because that is the one that I was referring to, and that's the line that I quoted was from Bull Durham. But someone, and maybe I'm going to have to go back, you saw Major League this past weekend, but someone told me that there is a sequence like that in Major League. It's just the line that I was quoting was the one from Bull Durham.
Okay.
Do you not recall when you watched it this past weekend?
I mean, I was working on notes, honestly, for the show, so I threw it on in the background, and then I was like, wait a minute, and then I threw Bull Durham on, and I was like,
No, I'm taking the L on this one. This was my base running blunder because that is the line that Kevin Costner says to Tim Robbins, don't ever shake me off again. And so it was from Bull Durham. So that is my bad. I
undermeant what you stood, though. I knew it was from a baseball movie.
That was my bad. I'm taking the L on that one. One more thing I do want to point out, because I love our listeners. I love how they send messages and that they do engage. But let's just say I stand by. I took some heat this past week for being a film snob. It seems that
who's giving you grief?
They did not take too kindly to my review of Empire Records, Amie, and as a result, I was called, you are a film snob, man. I can't believe you don't like Empire Records. So
I also think it's one of those movies where like we showed, I think, my sister-in-law The Goonies like 20 or 30 years after the fact, where she was like, you guys liked this? And it was like, as a kid, yeah, it was great, but like, I mean, there's some plot holes when you're older and you're looking back at it,
I
So
still
I
like
get it.
Goonies. I still
No,
like Goonies to this day.
I love it. I also saw it when I was younger, kind of growing up, and me and my best friend used to watch it every Thursday, like clockwork. I'd go to her house, we'd watch the Goonies. I think if you're coming at some movies later in life past that era, sometimes I think the magic does wear off, especially if it's like a B movie.
Look, all I will say is this, and that is I stand by my snobbery. I have my streak continued. I went to go see another Taiwanese film. This
Okay.
one was not 3 hours. This one was not 4 hours. I'll leave it at this, Amy. Before we go to our updates,
How about we just, you like what you like, and that's okay.
my daughter came home and she was just like, "Where is he?" And my wife goes, "He went to go see a Taiwanese film." And then she looked at my wife and said, "That's weird." And my wife was just like, "Let him be. No, it's not." And she was like, "Mom, it's weird." So,
You could be doing drugs, as my best friend says. When I go buy more stuff to crochet or different crafts or dive into my scorecards, and it's like, well, you could be doing drugs.
hey, shouts out to the Frida Cinema and the 10 people that were in there watching a Taipei story. And for the
Okay.
guy who was snoring
right.
twice throughout the movie, I hope you had a good nap, man. It was cool in there. All right, Amy, you got to spend some time with Dave Roberts this weekend. What updates do you have for us?
We had the ones that we saw earlier in the week, obviously, like aside from just updates at the stadium, Joe Kelly getting activated, selecting Zach Logue's contract. We got to see that play out in Miami. As we know, and I'm sure we'll get to, Bobby Miller and Michael Grove got optioned. Glasnow moved to the 60-day IL. Kasparius was recalled. Logue was optioned. It's all the chess moves, up and down, checkers, chess, Monopoly, whatever you want to call it. Dave Roberts mentioned that Gonsolin was going to have that next start with Oklahoma City, which, as we know, has already happened. The goal at that time was either 4 innings and 60 pitches, 5 innings and 75. So really, they're just trying to get him built up with the potential he could pitch in the postseason without pitching in the regular season. He could pitch in the regular season and then the postseason. So it's all a bunch of, we'll see when it happens. So same thing with Yamamoto. We got kind of updates on Saturday on how he was progressing. Obviously, it didn't carry over on Sunday into what Dave Roberts had been hoping, 6 innings and 90 pitches. I think we got 3 innings and about that. So, we've definitely got some ups and downs. But Shohei, he said his pitching progression is on target. He watched his bullpen from afar, and they're going to see whether and when he can face pitching. So it was just a lot of up in the air stuff. Kind of like, hey, let's just wait and see how this season cracks out.
All right, that's all the updates we got.
Not really anything substantial.
All right.
Do you have anything?
No, I do not. You covered it all. Let's talk some baseball. Let's take our talents to. Let's start with Miami, as the Doyers had a 3-game set against the Fighting Fish. They were coming off of a split with the Bravos of 2-2. The Fighting Fish are not very good. They traded away a lot of their assets. And the Dodgers ended up winning 2 out of 3. I would have loved for them to sweep. All I am saying is this, and at the time we are recording this episode, it is Monday. It is the eve of probably the biggest series this year between the Doyers and the Showpods. The Doyers have a 3-game lead. And if the Dodgers can find a way to win 2 out of 3, because the magic number is 4, they will win the division. And we got to this point because the Showpods are playing really well. And the Showpods do what they're supposed to do, which is the Chicago White Sox come into town and they sweep them. So you would think 3 games against the Fighting Fish, 3 games against the Rockies, the Doyers would do the same. And if the Doyers would have taken them care of business and beaten the teams that they need to beat, look, the magic number would be 2 going into this series. Just want a little programming note, ladies and gentlemen, but Amy and I, we're going to be at that Dodger Show Pod series, and hopefully we'll be at the clincher. But, I won't be too upset, Amy, if by the time we get there, that game will not be a clincher. hopefully the division will already be clinched.
Well, I'll be there Wednesday and Thursday.
Okay, so
So.
you're probably going to see it before I do. Okay, thanks a lot. Thanks for not picking me.
Oh, do you
Yeah.
want to go on Wednesday too?
No, it's okay. It was a reference to the Life Aquatic for our movie fans out there.
Oh, I'm
But
not my
Amy,
taste. That's all you.
what did you see in that Fighting Fish series?
I mean, considering that we were seeing Bobby Miller pitch, Landon Knack, and Flaherty, I feel like it was kind of a not a tryout for the postseason, but like we're in the home stretch, so it's like, all right, show me what you have. We did get to see Flaherty on that Thursday game. He went 6 innings, gave up a bunch of runs, but he at least went 6 innings. Bobby Miller unfortunately only went 2, and he gave up 4 runs while he was out there in that Tuesday game. That was the one loss we had. I will say, I know how much you hate the inflated scores. It was a 9-11 game. Like, we could have potentially come back, but I feel like in those games where it's insurmountable from the get-go, it's a little bit harder to kind of resurrect your offense. So initially, Bobby Miller gave up 4 runs. Michael Grove came in after him and gave up another 3. So like that, I mean, that's a lot. Fighting Fish or not, it's a lot to overcome early in the game. I don't know. What were you seeing?
No, exactly. It's my concern. And look, I know I'm the Prince of Darkness. I'm the Prince of Darkness for a reason. And I know nobody wants to hear this. Everybody's just like, Juan, you're way too negative. But it was alarming to me the amount of offense that the Fighting Fish had against the Dodgers. And look, the Jack Flaherty one, that
But
one.
were you surprised with like how Bobby Miller's, at least from Bobby Miller's perspective, with how he's been pitching? Were you surprised?
I was not surprised with Mitcher. As I said, you and I have talked about this. The Bobby Miller thing, to me, it was painful to watch. And I've said this many times on this show that the guy's been pitching hard and throwing him out there. It was just, look, I applaud him for taking one for the team. It is obviously they have decided to put him out of his misery, and he will not be pitching any longer for the rest of the regular season. That week that we have left, but it was tough to watch him out there. But that being said, that game, look, the Jack Flaherty game doesn't concern me because they had a big lead, and you pitch differently when you have a big lead. So, did Jack Flaherty leave more pitches over the plate than he normally would? Absolutely, and that's because he has a huge lead, and then the game really got out of hand later on. So I'm not too concerned about the Flaherty one. I mean, his start against the Bravos to me was more concerning than his start against the Fighting Fish. But the Bobby Miller, this is the thing that concerns me. Not necessarily that Bobby Miller was out there getting hit. This is what happens when you don't get length, right? The bullpen has to come in, and a lot. You're expecting the bullpen. Not only are they covering so many innings, but you expect each one of them to be perfect. And
and that's the thing you hate is anybody having a bad day.
And that's what happened, right? Because by the time they got Bobby Miller out, the Dodgers had tied the game. They had come back, but then the bullpen has to cover, 7 innings, and that is just that's brutal because all it takes is 1 or even 2 guys. I mean, look,
Brazier and Hudson. Brazier, like, he's been kind of like hit or miss. Like, he's either really good or it's like he gives up a couple in the few innings that he's in or the inning he's in. Is it Hudson? Hudson and Phillips.
Hudson is the one that is really alarming me.
Yeah, I'm a little concerned because every time he comes in, it's a struggle.
Yeah, and the thing is I know the Dodgers' philosophy. They love veterans, and we'll see with Anthony. The Anthony Banda. Did you have an update on Anthony Banda? I thought they said that he is going to be.
So he's in a good spot physically. He's eligible to come off the aisle either Wednesday or Thursday. So as soon as he's eligible, he's coming off.
Yeah, I'm really fascinated to see what they do with the bullpen when it comes to the postseason roster, because as of right now, for me, that Daniel Hudson, that one makes me super nervous. But this is a team with their philosophy. They love veterans. I know they're going to put him on there. They're going to put
Hudson
him on that.
And Phillips. not in like the closing positions. They need to either be there a little earlier. We can try to come back from some of those runs that they give up, but we can't have them in the later innings.
I mean, look, Phillips to me is up and down, but Hudson now, it has been a while that I feel like he's been down. And that's one of those things. That's the last thing you want going into the postseason. And what cracks me up is you hear the Dodgers, you hear Robert say this all the time. It's about performance. Well, if it's about performance, Daniel Hudson should not be on this postseason roster.
Except you need the warm bodies at this point. I don't even think it's about earning a spot. It's who do we have that's fresh? Because I'm looking at, so I have all of the pitching listed out. There was only one game, and that was the Flaherty game, where we used 2 people in the bullpen. The only other time was Bueller. We used 3. Every other game was 4+, 4, 5, 6, 7 pitchers out of the bullpen. Like it's exorbitant. The fact that the two pitchers from the bullpen or the 3 pitchers from the bullpen is the exception and not the rule. Hey, credit where credit is due. That bullpen is doing what they can to limit the damage. They've gotten us here. The Dodgers are still leading the league. They are going to limp over the line, but you know what? They've managed to pull it together, and we've seen other World Series teams that didn't look like they had a fighting chance, and they still somehow managed to cross that line. So there's still a little bit more baseball to be played. We'll see how it works, but they are all definitely getting overworked.
Look, I don't think I'm negative. To me, I am pointing out what is obvious. Now, as a Dodger fan, if you want to ignore that, or if you want to believe that magically this is going to change once the postseason starts, hey man, I applaud your optimism. I love that.
It's not going to magically change, but it did somehow get us here. The wheels may be falling off a little, but the car is still somehow running.
Yeah, look, I mean, part of it, if we look back in the season, I mean, there was a stretch there when everybody was healthy where they were playing really, really well. And also the Serpientes were not. The show pods were inconsistent. If the show pods had any consistency throughout the whole season, this may be a very different division race. So the Dodgers definitely took advantage of that spurt where they were healthy and they played really, really well.
Isn't that kind of the point though, of like you take advantage where you can? Because July was a rough month for us, just like the Padres have had rough months. Like that's literally how the game goes, and it's who limps over the line at the end in the best shape and who can pull it out of the hat. So
yes, I mean the Dodgers definitely they took advantage of the savings that they put in the beginning of the season, because when they got laid off, when they lost their job, so to speak, and they had nothing to live off of, luckily they had their savings. But now,
even in a lesson in economics.
Look, you get everything on this show, everything
except Empire Records.
It's such a boring movie. It's
damn
so
the
boring.
man, save the empire.
I'll stand by it. I'll stand by it. Look, to me, I mean, you saw that. You saw a lot of this stuff during this. The things that, and we've talked about it. These are the things that concern me going into the playoffs. That Bobby Miller, okay, like I said, he's
off the board.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting Bobby Miller to be in the playoffs. But the idea, what you mentioned, that the bullpen is going to have to cover 4 innings at least, so in some cases 5, that's alarming, because you can have a game. It's a high-scoring game, but I don't think you're going to have a high-scoring game in the playoffs. You're going to be facing teams that have better pitching, that aren't going to be like the Fighting Fish. So I know.
Well, you might have high scoring games at the rate that runs are being given up, though. And if that's the case, if our team is giving up runs early in those early innings, that's just making sure that the offense has to answer that as well. So we're used to 2 and 3, runs in a game, give or take, in the postseason, because you are up against the elite. But in these cases, if our starting pitching or our bullpen is giving up those runs early, you're going to see potentially inflated scores. You're going to see unbalanced ones.
No, but that's the hope. That's what a lot of Dodger fans are telling me. That's the hope that, okay, our pitching is not there, but our offense is going to carry us. And it's
that's where I'm saying, or you're going to see unbalanced where it is like 10-2 or, and I hope that's not the case, because we are seeing the bottom of the lineup in some cases pick up, this roster, score some runs. We're also seeing them get on base, or at least, get around so that the three at the top of the lineup can score. So the hope is that whatever they've been doing to limp along, they can either hone that or at least continue that to get through. And I mean, we just got Joe Kelly back. I think he did an interview with Baseball Isn't Boring, just saying how this is the best he's felt in 3 years. He came in that game on Wednesday and pitched for 1 inning, no hits, no runs. Like he was able to get contact and get those outs. And same thing in the next one. He pitched a couple times. I think he was able to go. Oh no, he gave up 1 run. Sorry, in Friday's game. But other than that, like, he was scoreless. So if we can see him finding the plate a little better.
I look at Amie. I mean, I know there was a stretch. I don't know how many games there where the Dodgers had scored like 8 runs in it. I think it was maybe 5 games in a row that they had scored like 8 runs in each game. And I know people were like, look, this year our offense is going to carry us. Look, they're not going to be playing the Fighting Fish in the playoffs. They're not going to be playing the Rockies in the playoffs. And so this idea that we're just going to outscore everybody in the postseason is an idea that I am not comfortable with. Now, I will say this. What's going on with, I've said this from the beginning of, for a while now, and that is this team's going to go as far as the superstars carrying them. Before these last 2 games with the Rockies, Mookie was going through a really, really tough stretch. A stretch that reminded a lot of people, this is what Mookie went through last year in September. This is what Mookie looked like before he went into the playoffs. He was, before that Saturday game against the Rockies, Amie, he was 5 for his last 32. Federico was also going through it. That to me, because we saw it last year and we saw it carry over into the postseason, that's why I'm not confident when everybody's like, no, Juan, we got our offense. Our offense is going to carry us. And I'm just like, look, I want to be like you guys, but I just can't. What is maybe a little different. And we're going to get into the unicorn now and what the unicorn did in Miami. But Amie, if this is a sign of the unicorn is getting hot, and I say that as he's just won National League Player of the Week for the 3rd time this week. If this is him getting hot, if this is him focusing because the playoffs are around the corner, I don't think one person can carry you in baseball, but damn, did he come close this week to carrying this team. What are you laughing at me about?
I was just going to say, I don't understand the overly optimistic fans. I mean, I guess I understand it. Like, you want to win, so you're overly optimistic. I also don't understand the pendulum swing the other way of like, oh my God, okay, I'm just not going to expect anything. Like, let's just, like, they're going to do to us what they did in previous years. I guess I would just say, come live with me in the middle where you have no expectations and there's nothing that we can do about the pitching or who's going to hit, and just come watch baseball with me. Just like, that's all we're going to do. If we make it to the World Series, great. It's going to be a fun ride. It might be a little bit of a nail biter. If we don't, then again, there's not really much we individually can do about it. So come live with me in the middle. We have cookies. We have like nice snuggly blankets. It's nice.
Look, I want to give some flores to Landon Knack because he bounced back nicely from his bad start against the Bravos. He went 5 innings, and that looked like the Landon Knack that we've seen all this year where, hey, we need you to come in and do it, and he does it. So, look, they won 2 out of 3, and they were convincing. Look, what
they slaughtered that third game.
That third game, what the unicorn did, and look, I know
those Marlins had a family.
Look, we're going to spend a lot of time in our next episode talking about the achievement of the unicorn, but let's just say it right now. So that was the game that he reached, and he did it. He did the 50-50. Man, did he do it in style. I was skeptical, and one of the reasons why I was skeptical, and I had said it, was because I just didn't think people were going to pitch to him. And it sure enough, it came up in that game. Skip Schumaker. So I want to ask you this, Amie. So they asked Skip Schumaker why he pitched to him, and Skip Schumaker could have very easily have walked Shohei, and we wouldn't have seen it in that game.
I think I heard, didn't Aaron Judge get walked recently?
Yeah, exactly. And this is what I'm talking about, because look, this series that's going to start next week against tomorrow against the Show Pods, you better believe that the Show Pods are going to walk Shohei, because they're fighting. They're fighting for the division. They're not going to let Shohei. They're going to want either Mookie or Federico to beat him. But the Marlins are like, look, we got nothing to play for, so we're going to pitch to him. But he got caught. Schumacher got caught on tape saying, no, I'm cleaning it up, but saying, forget that. But I love that.
Well, and he said he respects the game too much in that quote.
Well, not only that he respects the game, but he believes in baseball karma. And so, Amie, that was my question to you. I don't think that the Fighting Fish got rewarded for it, but did Major League Baseball get rewarded for Schumacher doing the right thing?
I think so. And I heard some reports, because I was at work, and then I was like, I had to go run some errands, so I was listening to the radio, watching the TV. Like, I was all over the different broadcasts watching that game. I think in that respect, though, some people were saying, like, oh God, you don't want to be the one tied to his 50th home run, or tied to that. Like, you want to walk him and let some other team eat it. And it's like, I don't know that that's necessarily a bad thing. It's not indicative of like you're the worst team ever because you gave up the home run. To me, it's like you're part of that piece of history. So I wouldn't have walked him anyway, because I want to be part of that history, whether I'm the one on the receiving side or not. I think it was really cool that he went through, and that it was in defense or in respect of the game. And while they did get smashed 20-4, I think it was, in my opinion, and not just because we're on the Dodgers side, I think it was the right thing to do. I would hope if the situation were reversed, Doc would do the same thing.
Look, not only that, but I mean, like I said, we're going to go into more details in our next episode. But the distance of the home runs that he hit, Amie, I was completely, especially that last one that he hit, and I get it was off of a position player, but he almost hit it at the very top of that stadium. That if that stadium didn't have a roof, I think he might have hit it out of that stadium. And that was off of a guy, and I don't know. I mean, we had talked earlier about how Miguel Rojas, I think, was on record for throwing the slowest pitch in
17 of the slowest pitches in the Dodgers franchise.
So I don't think this guy who was pitching for the Marlins, for the Fighting Fish in that inning, I don't think he was throwing much harder than Rojas. So Shohei was supplying all the power. And for him to hit that ball, he hit it over where there were no more people. There were no more people. They were all empty seats, because those seats were the euchre seats. They were literally up against the wall. They were in the very top row, and that's where he was hitting. I couldn't believe it. So afterward, the game.
Oh, this is as close to positivity as I've heard you in weeks.
Look, I love the unicorn. I love watching the unicorn play. Like, I have no problem talking about the unicorn. And yeah, I will talk about the unicorn positively, because I just love watching him play baseball. But immediately after the game, it was in unison. I mean, it was universal, Amie. Everyone was calling this the greatest offensive performance in the history of Major League Baseball. And these are historians and noted snob. I mean, for Bob Costas, baseball ended in 1960, so there's nothing better than baseball in 1960. Even Bob Costas said this was the greatest performance.
We'll put a pin in that, because we're gonna discuss that all next episode, because we haven't even gotten to the Rockies series.
Well, what do you want to say about the Rockies series? Because to me, the Rockies series was a little more of the same than the Fighting Fish, and honestly, I think the Rockies series was even more it was more alarming and depressing to me than the Fighting Fish series.
I think it was interesting in that we did get to see how a bullpen game would play out, because as we know, for at least in my head, we're probably going to see one of those in the postseason. Let's just get ourselves ready for it. So
we're going to see more than one. We're going to see more than one.
Yes. So wrap your brains around, buckle up. So I kind of, in my head, I know it's against the Rockies, but again, I feel, in my opinion, teams play up to the Dodgers. Nobody's phoning it in. I mean, if we had been playing the White Sox, it might have been a little easier than playing the Rockies. But you've got Charlie Blackmon, who is notably a Dodger killer. So,
and by the way, just to add, Charlie Blackmon just announced he's going to retire.
Did he? So there was a lot of speculation about that. Okay.
Breaking news. He just announced right now. It's coming across on the worldwide interweb.
On our ticker.
That's right.
So getting to see that bullpen game on Friday was, at least for me, it was interesting because I wanted to see how that would shake out. Over the 8 pitchers, I believe we had in that game, they gave up 3 home runs, and then only 1 other run off of a walk that came back to bite us. But aside from that, like, they were able to limit a lot of the damage there. So, positive there. We did get to see Buehler pitch again, gave up 4 runs, but he's still kind of trucking along, still trying to find it. So if nothing else, it was just getting him another rep, because we know we probably will see him in the postseason. We need a body. I mean, I don't think we're not going to not see him. Do you disagree? Do you think he's not going to show up?
No, I mean, Buehler has to pitch. They don't have an option. It's like you said, they don't have any bodies, but that to me is the reason why that series, we're getting caught up in the excitement of what happened on Sunday. But again, my job, I am your guys' reality check. My job is to remind you guys that you're all suffering from amnesia, and this is what you forget happened in this series, and that is Walker Buehler coming off of his best start of the year against the Bravos, looking fantastic, and you think Buehler's figured something out. He's changing course, and then you see him pitch the way he pitched on Saturday, and the reality is you just don't know what you're going to get from that guy come the playoffs. And that, to me, has to be concerning if you're the Dodgers, because look, I know we're going to get into this more in detail once the playoffs start, but Amie, right now, especially after you saw what Yamamoto did on Sunday, I think you just have Jack Flaherty. You have Jack Flaherty, and then you have question marks for the rest of the series, and that is why I think you are going to see more than one bullpen game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think the sooner everybody wraps their brain around that and accepts it, the better. Playoff games they're already stressful enough as it is. Again, I know I hearken back to me and my friend group. We just watch them. Like, I have no impact on the outcome of that game. Do I want to see us lose? Absolutely not. I want to see us advance. That's the goal. We want to make it to the World Series. But at the end of the day, I'm not going to stress myself out if, Yamamoto can't go beyond 3 innings, because what am I going to do? Suit up, warm up in the bullpen? Are you and me going to go hop in there?
Look, I was told this weekend, Amie, and it made me feel very good about myself, because I get it. You're very even keeled. You are just like Namyo Horengekyo when you are watching games. That is a reference to all my Buddhist friends. You're just very even keel. But someone told me, "Why do you get so mad, Juan?" And it was like, you know why he gets mad? It's because he cares. And that's right. I care. And that's why I get mad.
But I don't care. I don't care about baseball.
No, we just do it differently. We show it in different ways. You are Zen, while I am just, fire and brimstone. And it's just like,
we just watch baseball differently. That's all.
Because it just upsets me, Amie, because if I did the stuff that I do, I would get my job would be fired. I would be fired.
You are so fired up right now. Like, this is where I'm like, oh my God. Like, I just, you make me think of the dormouse in Alice in Wonderland, and I just want to put some mustard on your nose and calm you down. Like, it's okay. It's okay, my little dormouse. It's fine. Like,
no, it's just, it cracks me up because I am surrounded by those positive Dodger fans who just think like there's nothing to see here. Everything is fine. Please disperse.
It's to be clear, it is not fine. This is not how anybody saw us going into the postseason with all of the spending, with the arms we picked up, not only in the off season, but also at the trade deadline. And then with the offense that we have, the lineup that we have being as deep, nobody saw Muncy going out for a majority of the season. Nobody saw Mookie going out. Nobody saw Freddie starting to slowly become human. And then you add in the rest of, but there's also positives. There were surprises. Look at how well Miguel Rojas has been performing. Like, everybody was like, he'll get to play sometimes. And it's like, dude, that's our shortstop. Like, since Mookie went out, like, he's our guy. So I think it's not how anybody thought. And I guess this is one of the things I love about baseball is like, you can't script it. You have all this great stuff on paper, but once you add humanity to it, like, you can't script it. And that's also why, like, you watch till the end of the game where Shohei hits his 53rd home run and then Mookie walks it off with his first home run as a Dodger, or his first walk-off home run as a Dodger. Like, that's the stuff where some people will turn off the game. Some people will stop listening. I'm not going to judge. If you leave the game early, you might have your reasons. I'm sometimes leave the game early on weekdays because I have to work in the morning, but I listen to it on the way home. So I'm the one in the car on the freeway, like, yes, like, we all just have our way of approaching the game. But I think how we get to the postseason, as long as we get there and we play our hearts out, I think that's enough for me.
Look, I know people think that I hate watch the Dodgers, and I don't hate watch the Dodgers. Okay, I love.
You've been hurt.
I love. Yeah, I have. I mean, my fondest memory, my first memory of Major League Baseball, especially with the Dodgers, was the 1985 NLCS, where Jack Clark broke my heart. And but the thing is this, and well, Juan, if it upsets you this much, why do you keep watching? I keep watching because I think every team right now in the playoffs is flawed. And because every team in the playoffs is flawed, that means there might be a chance that the Dodgers may actually pull this out.
Saying there's a chance.
I'm saying there's a chance. Even though, like, realistically, if you look on paper, you would think that the Phillies of Philadelphia are a more complete team than the Dodgers. They have more of a starting rotation than the Dodgers. And they have guys who just mash. Like, I'm going to have nightmares about Kyle Schwarber coming up to the plate against the Dodgers if the Dodgers end up facing the Phillies, right?
For sure. But isn't that what people said about the 88 World Series? Like, yeah,
but the 88 World Series is an anomaly. Like, you can't keep going back to the 88 World Series.
No, I'm not saying just for Dodgers fans. I'm saying for baseball in general. Like, those anomalies. Who thought that the two, like, lower seed teams last year were the ones that were going to go to the World Series? And that's not the first time it's happened. So I think it's sometimes not necessarily the anomalies, but like those, again, the things that don't look so great on paper that end up surprising you about this game. And I mean, yeah, I want to win. Let's win.
The new playoff format has changed everything. This is a tournament now. So because it's a tournament, it's like anybody. Look, the Tigers, Los Tigres de Detroit, I mean, they are on fire right now. The Metropolitans. Who thought the Metropolitans were going to get to the, thankfully, that they have some, I don't know if it's the drugs from Grimace or whatever turned them around, but
oh my goodness.
Like, Grimace is just like a drug image, right? I mean, because
I don't even know.
Is he a gumdrop? Like, what is Grimace?
Is he an ice cream? I don't know.
Exactly. Nobody knows. That's why I think
how is he even affiliated with McDonald's? Like,
that's where exactly. This is what I'm saying. There's no explanation.
Okay.
McDonald's, explain yourself.
With that in mind, I will just say this. What we did see in the Rockies series, aside from the pitching tryouts continuing, was we did see, like, Paez, Theo, Mookie, like, we saw everybody kind of playing their hearts out. Mookie made that great catch, first play of the game, up against the wall, rolled down, but like still caught the ball and thank God didn't get injured. We had multiple home runs from like I said, Baez, Teoscar, Kike. Like some of these plays are amazing. Are they going to be enough to put us over the line in the postseason? We'll see. But I think with a lot of this in mind, it kind of leads to that question, and I think a lot of people are having this conversation because of what you said with the expanded playoffs. That bye is a big question mark. Like, do you want to win the division series so bad that you get a bye? And what we've seen in past years is the last 2 years, that's impacted the teams that got it, except for Houston. Or do you want to get in on a wild card and just continue playing all the way through?
Look, this year, I think the Dodgers would benefit from a bye, and only because it gives the bullpen rest. Because
where normally we'd be like, God, can we just keep playing through?
Look, I hate the fact that they're ending their season in Colorado, because that bullpen is going to get run. It's going to get used a lot in Colorado. Look, that's why I am hoping that they win the division against the Show Pots. And so when they get to Colorado, even at that point, I think you stop chasing it's going to be interesting because to see where the Cerveceros are, because if the Cerveceros are within striking distance of the Dodgers for the 2 spot, because like I said, I really do think they would benefit this year from having a week off just to give the bullpen rest. So right now the Cerveceros,
they're 3 games behind.
4 actually. They're 4 games.
Sorry. I was looking at the Phillies. My bad. Yes, 4 games behind.
They're 4 games behind the Dodgers. So if by the time the Colorado series starts and there's no way the Cerveceros can catch them, then I say you pitch Quique, you pitch Miguel Rojas, you pitch whatever in Colorado.
No, because I don't want those guys getting hurt on the mound on some like trivial injury, because they shouldn't be out there doing that. You land wrong, you throw it wrong, you throw too many times in a row. I don't want to see it.
Well, that's why it's going to be interesting to me what they do. But are they going to push for that bye, or do they just go, look, let's just be healthy. Let's just be healthy.
The question.
Regardless, all right. If we end up falling, I mean, look, we haven't even talked about the Doomsday Scenario that if the Show Pots come in here and sweep them, the Show Pots have the tiebreaker with the Dodgers. So that means, look, Amie, you're too young. You're not going to remember this. But
you're like 2 years older than me.
In 1996, the Dodgers had a lead going into the last series of the season against the Show Pots. And the Show Pots swept them. They ended up winning the division, and the Dodgers went in as a wild card, and they got smoked in their first round playoffs. I'm not saying I'm getting that same vibe here, but
it's not going to be an easy series. Anybody who thinks that the Padres are going to roll over, there's no way. Like this is going to be a dogfight.
They're not going to roll over. And so, like I said, what is lost in this Colorado series, because everybody was caught up in the excitement of what Shohei did, the emotion that Shohei showed the minute he hit that home run in the 9th inning to tie the game on Sunday, and then Mookie walking it off, was in that same game. You talk about all the home runs that were hit. There were 4 home runs hit in that game. They only scored 6 runs, Amie. That means there was a lot of solo home runs. And that is what's concerning to me, because when everybody goes, Juan, our offense is going to carry us. What did the offense do on Saturday against the guy who had an ERA that was almost 5?
Yeah, when we don't hit home runs, that's hold on, let me climb up on my hill. Oh, like small ball, like that they do it every so often, but it feels like when they're in a pinch, they just lean on that home run ball, and like certain people can take up that mantle. There's others that it doesn't work out so well, and it's like, I'm not even going to get into calling people out, but there's just like, there's certain players who can pull it off. There are certain players who can't, and we're going to have the lineup that we have in the postseason. And so unless they learn to move the guy over a little bit better, or not hit into double plays, or, like we've just got to be better strategy, because we are going to be playing the elite. in a week or so. So
Look, it's
Houston, we have a problem, and you were right. I will give you credit. So no team will be winning 100 wins or 100 games this season.
Thank you.
So,
Appreciate it. I called it.
Yes. So that was something that, as we're all scoreboard watching, nobody's going to hit that. But hey, hey, we're leading the league. and cute little moment of the weekend, Mookie got surprised by his daughter Kinley being part of the kids take the bases and running out and having him sign a ball. He had no idea she was going to be there. So all the cuteness.
Yes, that was a nice moment there. We're going to wrap things up here. Just want to say this last thing. This is going to be a very exciting week of baseball, not just not for the Dodgers, but I think if you like baseball in general, because the Showpots have 3 against the Dodgers, but then they end their season with the Serpientes. And that series, I think, is going to be very exciting because there's going to be stuff that's getting played for in that series. So that's going to be fun to watch. What the Tigers of Detroit are doing right now, all of a sudden now they're fighting with the Royals. And you got 3 teams in that wild card spot. The Twinkies and the Royals and the Tigers of Detroit. They look, it's going to be an exciting week. So I'm looking forward to it, even though it'll probably be stressful against the Showpots. But look, I preface this in our next episode. Please make sure you check out our next episode because it's going to be all Shohei all the time talking about these records. Amie, any last words before we wrap things up?
Nope.
All right. So that's going to do it for this episode. If you've been listening to us on the audio portion, please make sure you're subscribed to the podcast. Rate us, write us a review. If you're watching us on YouTube, make sure you're subscribed to our YouTube channel. Hit that notification button. Give us a thumbs up. Leave us comments. We love engaging with you. And most importantly, make sure you're following us on social media, on X at BB Shangri-La, on Instagram, YouTube, and Twitch at Baseball Shangri-La. She is Amie Cuevas. I am Juan Ramirez. Nos despedimos con un beso. Amie, say goodbye to the people.
Goodbye, people.